class is on sprouting. I was going to put little sprouts coming out of his toenails, but didn't have the time. Our disclaimer, as always, don't stop your medication to start popping a few sprouts because it's not going to work that way. But sprouts can be very important and bring a lot into your diet. For one thing, sometimes the sprouts taste better than eating the food. Might have a better texture, easier to chew or whatever. But the main reasons to do sprouting is how high the nutrients are in it. If you have an alfalfa plant and you go out and you kind of munch on an alfalfa plant, that plant is going to be several feet high, plus a taproot that goes clean into the ground. It pulls some nutrients in, but it does not have a whole lot more than what you have in the little sprout itself. There's higher antioxidants. Like if you take a foot of alfalfa plant and you take a handful of alfalfa sprouts, you're going to get a lot more nutrients from the sprouts. A lot of them have bioflavonoids, minerals, proteins, trace minerals, and vitamins. There's a lot of nutrients. Many times there's nutrients in the sprouts that you don't have in the plant itself, or like in the berry itself. Sprouts are typically very, very high in enzymes. What prevents us from getting old, what allows us to heal, are enzymes. They help our digestion. They help our body cleanse itself. Enzymes are what they call the spark of life. I have some old wheat that I tried to sprout the other day, and it's old. It's really old, and it won't sprout anymore. I could still grind it up as flour and eat it, but that spark of life is no longer there. It's not spoiled. It's not moldy. It's just that spark of life is gone. They don't have a name for the spark of life in sprouts, but it definitely is something that reacts to the body differently than just eating foods. And then when I was saying about the vitamin C and the chlorophyll, if you eat just alfalfa seeds, there's no vitamin C, or wheat. It's talking about sprouting wheat. If you just eat wheat berries or wheat, there's no vitamin C in it. But if you sprout it and get the greens, you can end up having those vitamin C and chlorophyll in it. And this is something, the reason why I wanted to do the wheat is my body has some symptoms of lacking vitamin E. And you don't get vitamin E from a lot of different foods. Like wheat is a very high source of vitamin E. Matter of fact, most companies either use wheat or soy to make vitamin E because it's so easily extracted from those plants. But whenever I eat wheat, I get all mucousy, and my lungs fill up because I have a little bit of wheat intolerance because of what they've done to our wheat. But if you sprout it, it reacts more like a vegetable in the body. So you don't gain weight if you're no blood type. And a lot of people do not get celiacs or mucus or whatever symptoms they might have to a wheat allergy if they sprout it. You know, a lot of people think, wow, we know every nutrient there is out there, and we do not. In sprouting, there is an estimated 8,000 different phytochemicals. 8,000. We have probably end up naming less than a couple hundred. And this is where you can find this information here. And these phytochemicals support our immune system. It again helps us detoxify. Recently, every once in a while I used to get Charlie horses. I'd take parsley or whatever, and that would get rid of my Charlie horses. Well, this last time, since Christmas, because I was a dummy and drank 3 sodas within a week, I noticed that my kidneys went downhill. And I ended up with gout on my foot, and I would get really, really bad Charlie horses. I took all kind of parsley and combination potassium and things to try to get rid of it, and it would not. I took magnesium. Nothing would cause those muscles to relax. And I don't know about you, but the worst thing on the face of this earth for me is to wake up with a Charlie horse. I hate that to no end. Well, I found out what was going on is my body was having a really hard time detoxifying of the uric acid that developed from my kidneys because of drinking the soda. That's why I decided to start sprouting again. That plus this class was coming up. And found out that my wheat doesn't sprout anymore. But so I took other things that would help detoxify my body, that like Una de Gato, and it cleaned it out, and I don't have the Charlie horses anymore. If I had been doing sprouting the whole time, the sprouts would help detoxify the body. It helped clean out that uric acid. It also helps prevent auto intoxication, or your body just kind of gets all chunked up with the toxins of, like the cells breaking down and just wear and tear on the body. Okay, we're going to talk about a couple different sprouts. This is something that's pretty interesting. There's a study that showed that broccoli sprouts contains 50 times the amount of this word right here. And what this does is a couple things. It helps, it's a sulfur derivative, so it helps do like the sulfur drugs used to do in the 60s. It helps cut down bacteria and viral infections. It helps break up fat. And there's also indole-3-carbinol in here that helps get rid of xeno and mutated estrogens. So you get 50 times the amount in the sprouts than you do if you eat the broccoli itself. Wheatgrass, the difference between wheat sprouts and wheatgrass is just the size. When it's twice the size of the berry, it is considered sprouts. When you put in dirt and it grows up bigger than that, then that's the grass. But wheatgrass is very close to your blood. So if you know anyone who's on chemotherapy or radiation, wheat sprouts is amazing. So are barley greens. Wheatgrass and barley greens or barley grass are amazing in helping to build a person's blood up. A lot of times people will be on chemo and the doctor says, we got to take you off because your blood just isn't good enough. You're not cleaning out properly, and your levels aren't high enough. Wheatgrass and barley grass can take care of that. They help the liver detoxify. They cleanse and nourish the blood. Is anybody here from California? I have a client from California. She said that it's hard-pressed to go anywhere without being within walking distance of a place that you can get wheatgrass, that they juice wheatgrass. I don't know if anybody, I guess not. But it's really becoming very well known, the benefits of wheatgrass and barley greens. Sunflower and buckwheat are especially beneficial to people who are diabetics. Not so much the sunflower seeds or the buckwheat itself, but the greens or the sprouts. So these are studies that actually show these things as they are. However, not all things can be sprouted. You need to have some precautions about it. For instance, this part of the potato is actually poisonous. So when your potatoes start getting like this, don't eat this stuff. Tomato seeds itself, whenever they're sprouted, have a toxin in them. They're not like poisonous as if you get one bite by accident, you die. But it's poisonous to the body, a mild poison. And I don't know about you guys, but I've had tomatoes already. When I cut them open, they're sprouted inside. Has anybody had that?
I have.
Have you? So don't eat those when that happens. And there's times whenever I had this sprouted class like 3 years ago, but before that I would just eat them. But it's not good to eat them when they're like that. Yeah, LaRue has had some too. Paprika, I don't even know how to sprout paprika. But evidently some people sprout paprika, and that is a poison. Eggplant is a poison, and so is rhubarb. So I would stay away from those sprouts. How the things are sprouted are very, very important. Seeds and sprouts love, love, love to mold, and they are just an absolute smorgasbord for bacteria. Bacteria needs moisture, darkness, and nutrients to be able to, divide and breed, and that's what you need to sprout. So it's very easy to have mold or bacteria develop. So you got to use some precautions. Make sure that everything you use is absolutely clean. Whenever I used to sprout a lot, and I can't say I sprout a lot anymore. Excuse me, I don't. But whenever my kids were young, I used to sprout all the time for a couple of reasons. One thing is to keep them healthy, of course. But I had to find treats for the kids to eat. And one time someone told me about sprouting wheat and how good it was. I sprouted it, and my kids would take wheat sprouts, put them in a container and watch TV and eat them like you would popcorn or potato chips or something like that. But in between the sprouting, and I did mine in canning jars, I would scrub it out really good, and I would sterilize it. So I'd have a pot of boiling water, and I'd put them in, then I'd pull it out and let it air dry. Make sure you also have a good water source. I would not use tap water with the fluoride and all, because that will end up in the sprouts. Bottled water has a lot of bacteria. I wouldn't even drink a lot of bottled water every day for my water supply. One time we went to a convention in Utah, and I drink a lot of water. I drink at least 100 ounces a day. I know you shouldn't drink more than that, but sometimes I do. It's not good for you, so don't do it, but I sometimes do if my kidneys are hurting me. And they gave us a bunch of bottled water, and my daughter gave me hers, and Carolyn gave me hers, and because they know I drink so much. And the second day we were there, I got sick as a dog. I was throwing up, and all kinds of just flu-like symptoms. And it ruined like 2 days for me. And I just kind of went through it. I figured I picked up a bug or something. When we went to closing at convention, there was probably about 10 of us that had all gotten like that, and the other ones went to the hospital. And they tested, and they found out they had water poisoning. They had botulism from the water. I don't know if they call it botulism, but there's a bacteria in the water that whenever they drank it, spread just like botulism and caused them to have water poisoning. So I don't suggest you use bottled water because all water that's bottled is not reverse osmosis. Some they just get it out of the spring and there's bacteria in that. It settles for a while, it breeds more bacteria. You put it in a dark, warm place with nutrients and it's just going to go like crazy. So don't use bottled water. Rinse several times a day. I can't say I always rinse 4 times a day, but I always rinse at least twice a day and usually 3 times a day. And make sure there's enough airflow, and we'll show you how to do that in a little while. So these are the most things you have to worry about. If you smell the sprouts and you smell mold at all, I would dump them. I would not eat them. Now, whenever you smell them, they don't smell like, oh, that smells like a piece of bread. It doesn't smell like that. It has kind of like a dull, pungent smell usually. Sometimes a sweet smell, depends on what it is. But that's different than moldy. You know, if you ever went to an old cellar or to a house that's moldy, you can smell that must. If you smell that at all, just dump the whole thing. There's no saving it. Some other precautions is make sure that the seeds that you're getting are meant for sprouting. Most commercial seeds now are treated with chemicals to keep them from molding, to keep birds and stuff like that from eating it. So I would not do that. I wouldn't just go out to the lawn and garden center and buy seeds and start sprouting them. And I'm going to give you some places where you can get good, organic, non-genetically modified seeds for sprouting. Heated or radiated seeds, I don't know why anybody would even buy these, but this was in a book I read about sprouting. I don't know why they would do that to seeds, but evidently they do. Make sure they're not coated. Again, those would be commercial seeds. And do not get hybrid, GMO, or non-organic. Make sure that everything is organic. So this is how you do it. This is how I do it. I would take a canning jar. I would probably put about an inch or an inch and a half of seeds at the bottom. Not many. An inch and a half. Too many, and you can't rinse it right. They don't grow right. You know, you think like, oh, I'll put a half, and then I'll end up with a whole jar full of sprouts. It doesn't seem to work that way. I don't know if it's the weight or whatever, but you're not any further ahead just by doing an inch and a half than you would be by doing 3 inches. Trust me, they don't sprout right that way. So what I do is I have the canning jar. I put so here's the canning jar, pretend. Funny looking canning jar. So I put the seeds in there, and then I rinse the seeds really, really well, dump it out, and then I soak the seeds, usually overnight. Then I spill it out, rinse it out, and I turn it upside down, and I'll show you in a minute how that looks like. And I rinse it a couple times a day, put the water in, swoosh it around. Sometimes you break some of the green parts off, but that's okay. Swoosh it around and clean it out. You do not want the seeds to dry out, but you want them to be well drained so they don't mold on you. You want the seeds to stay kind of cool, but not too cold, because if it's too cold, they don't sprout. Over 70 degrees, they tend to mold. So this is a pretty good temperature to keep them in. Is there any questions or anything yet? This is Like I said, this is going to be a quick class. So this is how I would do them. This looks like, wow, she said not to put a lot, but this has been sprouted. So whenever this started, it was only probably about this many in there. But as they sprout, it fills up the jar. So what I do is, here they have the netting with a rubber band around the top. What I did is I use an old pair of white nylons. So whichever you want to do. I do this so you can turn upside down, rinse it with the water, turn upside down, shake all the water out, and then I put it at about a 45-degree or better angle. So the water drips out in between rinses. You all see what I'm talking about here? Some people add a little bit of distilled vinegar. I never did that. Or silver shield. I never did that either, to keep the bacteria and stuff going. I don't know if this works or not, but that was one of the tips that I found when I was doing some research for this class. 45 degrees seems to be the best degree for draining. If you put it too high, it doesn't seem to work as well, and too low, it doesn't drain out completely at the bottom. Canning jars with nylon rubber band at the end. Okay. You can buy hemp sprouting bags. You can buy all kind of fancy stuff to do sprouting. You can buy a whole sprout kit. But this works just as well. So, the difference between sprouts, greens, and grass. Remember I talked about alfalfa sprouts, barley greens, and wheatgrass. The difference is the length of the sprout, or the green part. Typically, from here to here, the length of the berry, between 1 to 2 times the length of the berry is considered a sprout. Whenever it gets more than 2 times and it starts getting more than 2 leaves, although this only has 2 leaves, usually it has more than 2 leaves, then that's whenever it's considered a green. This has different nutrients than this stage, and this is the stage where the vitamin C develops. And that would be anything when there's multiple leaves, or if it's wheatgrass just looks like plain grass. The blade would be 2 inches or more. I usually let mine grow up to be 3 inches, and I would cut them down. This is a chart. If you want to take a picture of it, you can. If you want this chart, you email me, and I can copy it and send it to you in an email, if you want. But it tells you the best way of doing it. You can't really screw up sprouts a whole lot, because, like, okay, chickpeas take a couple days. Oh, that's free soak, I'm sorry. Let's see which would take the longest here. Okay, radishes. I never did radishes, but it takes 5 days. Well, you look and see how big they are. I never use this chart, but this will help people that are new. So the amount that you sprout, like 3 tablespoons, that's not much. I have done alfalfa. I have done barley. I have done peas. I have done wheat. That's all I've done, personally. So here's this, the pre-soak is how long you soak it in the beginning, and that's in complete water. So the alfalfa I would put in, and I let it set in overnight. Quite frankly, I did that for the barley, for the peas, and also for the wheat. They say 10 hours. This one says 8 hours. Um, that says 6 hours. I just would do it overnight. I put it in after I do my supper dishes, let it soak, drain it, rinse it, drain it again in the morning. So 3 tablespoons, you end up with 4 cups of sprouts. It took me a while to figure that out. I started sprouting, well, when my kids were like 11, so they're in their 40s now. So about 30 years ago, whenever I started sprouting. And although I don't sprout a lot of different kinds, I used to sprout a lot. And it took me a long time to not overstick too much in the beginning. Then what you do is you, the day that they are as large as you want them to get, I would take the nylon off and I would put a regular lid on them, but I would still rinse them and drain them twice a day. Some of them you can dry and then eat them as they've been dried. I've never done that. They didn't live very long in my house. And keep in the refrigerator. But even in the refrigerator, you got to watch out for them getting moldy or musty smelling. And you won't see the mold. Typically, you don't see the mold. You can just smell it. There are some things, like if you have cheese and there's mold, the mold spores don't go down in the middle of the cheese, and you can just cut off the mold and eat it. But there's other things like bread and sprouts. You can't do that. If there's mold on there, if you take the part that's moldy off, the spores can still be down in there. It's better just to dump them. So here are 2 places where you can get organic, non-genetically modified seeds. usastore.sprouting.com, and it's Mom's Sprouting Store, and thesproutpeople.org. And they have a bunch here. Wait till you see this. I'm just going to... I haven't been there for a while. But just look at all the different things that they have for you to sprout. Then, like I said, you can get these kits, but the kits are a rip-off. You really don't need these kits. And for the grass, what I would do is, you know how you go to the lawn and garden center, if you like buy a flat of flowers, I just use the flats. And where I used to live, I worked in a lawn and garden center, and we used to sell the flats for like 69 cents. Just get regular dirt. The one with the manure was probably better, the cow manure dirt, and then just the wheat. And you wouldn't need this whole kit. The kit costs like, what, $79? You could probably get it to do your own sprouting, maybe $3. So I definitely wouldn't buy the kits. They're crazy. And this sprouting jar is $43. It's a canning jar. If you take a canning jar, even if you would use the ring on it and use mesh or nylon, it's got to be a lot cheaper than $43. Why they do that is because I think they think that people don't know anything about sprouts, but it's a major ripoff, major ripoff. I was going to have a competing site that had, I was watching Sinbad, that sold it much cheaper. Oh no. Okay. Let's see if I can just. Maybe Mums is out of business. Let's see here. I hope not, because they had even a bigger variety. Yeah. Sorry, guys. I should have checked that before. So this one is no longer there. But if you would go on to, what I did was type in organic, non-GMO seeds to sprout. And again, you want to make sure they're the ones that you can sprout. And they have.
Dr. Mary, Mums actually, they still are in business. It's just sprouting.com.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, sprouting.com. They used to be sprouting people. Oh, good. Thank you, Joanne.
You're welcome.
Put that in my thing here. But they used to have a whole lot. Seeds. Alfalfa, blends, arugula, barley, basil. I didn't know you could sprout basil. That's cool. Beans of different kinds, beets. So look at this. Look how many different things you can. And another thing we don't really cover in this class, but I should have, is it brings a variety to your diet. You know, like, for instance, it's really hard to get foods that have molybdenum in it. There's not a whole lot of foods that have molybdenum, but lentils contain molybdenum. Personally, I'm not a split pea type chick. You know, split pea soup or whatever. So it's hard for me to get molybdenum in it. But I should really have molybdenum because my mother had, the doctor suspected she had esophageal cancer, and her mother and her cousins died of esophageal cancer. And molybdenum is the number one nutrient you're lacking whenever you develop esophageal cancer. So I could sprout it. And they taste different when sprouted than if you have to make a soup or something out of it. And I usually just stick the sprouts in my salad. My kids, like I said, used to like to just eat it straight out. See, here's the peas. I have done peas. Oh, you can even sprout popcorn. That's cool. See, I didn't know that either. But look at all these different things. This is quite a variety that you could add to your diet. I do have recipes. If you email me, you can call what they call, instead of meatballs, they call them wheat balls, where you take the sprouts and you mix it with egg and onions like that, and you make meatballs out of it. I should have put that in here too. But look at all the different variety. And these are nutrients that you normally wouldn't get, you know? Chia, I imagine, would be very high in fatty acids, though I haven't studied it. Flax is high in fatty acids. So I'm going to put this one back on that thingy. Thank you very much. It's Mums, right, with 2 M's?
Correct.
Okay. Put that in there. Alrighty. So and like I said, I usually put them right on my salad. I love them on my salad. I eat salad usually, I mean, there's times whenever you can't get really good produce or whatever for a little while in the wintertime. But I have a salad almost once a day, sometimes twice a day. And although I love salad, it's nice to be able to change it up a little bit. Put bean sprouts on, alfalfa sprouts on, or whatever. Then there's one that you can even make sandwiches out of it. Tomato, mayonnaise, and sprout sandwich. These are places Vitality Circle. Oh, it's not doing it that way. And Skinny Twinkie. Let's see here. See if these still work. They have all kind of ways that you can make this stuff. And the other one is the Skinny Twinkie, which I love the name of that. Oh, well, they used to have on here somewhere, they would tell you how to do sprouts. This is a recipe for Acini bread. Acini bread, even by people who are O blood types typically do not do well with wheat. Wheat is not our friend. However, Acini bread, which is made out of the wheat berries, you sprout the wheat, well, you rinse them and do all the other stuff, and you sprout them. Then you let them dry, mix them with salt, and add yeast and you make a bread out of it. Not only is it supposed to be okay for O blood types, but Acini bread actually is beneficial. So to do this recipe will satisfy the need for bread, and it actually acts like a medicine for us. It was the sprouting of the wheat, the popping of the wheat, and grinding my own wheat is what got me over my ulcers in my intestines whenever I was in my early 20s. Joanne, I'm sorry, I forgot to put your name and stuff. Will you put it in the chat box for everybody? I think everybody's in the chat. Yeah. Will you put them in the chat box?
Sure.
Okay, so anybody here sprouted other things? I don't sprout as much as I should, but the things that we used to sprout, I did feel a difference. I felt better. My bowels moved really well, although they move well now, but really, really well. I was less hungry for whatever reason. Sprouted foods such as alfalfa, lentils, clovers, garlic, onion, lettuce, rye, whole green peas, mung beans are considered low-stress foods. Low-stress foods are named for three reasons. They digest really easily and quickly. They leave little residue for the liver to detoxify, and they do not cause toxic buildup in the bowel. Since low-stress foods are more easily digested, they not only offer their energy to the body more readily, but also conserve energy otherwise used in attempting to digest high-stress foods. This energy can therefore be used to rebuild, increase energy reserves, increase resistance, and increase endurance. Very cool. Thank you for posting that. And they're kind of fun to do. So no one else has sprouted but me? Well, I hope you do. And if you do, go to our natural health professional I think it's now called Nature's Sunshine, or Natural Health Through Nature's Sunshine, and give us your experiences. And you will feel it. It takes a couple weeks, 2 or 3 weeks of doing it all the time to notice the difference, but you will notice the difference. Okay. So are there any other questions?
No questions.
Okay. Well, Joanne has kindly put her name and her information in there. You can always contact her. Also, you can contact me, but if you wanted, let's say last week you talked about this herb, it's better to get hold of Joanne. I don't do as well as she does with doing the orders. That's just not my thing. And Joanne, thank you so much for helping out today. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. There's one question. How do you spell molybdenum, the nutrient that helps with esophageal cancer?
I can't spell Mary. You asked me to spell molybdenum? Molybdenum. Let's see here. I will try. I know it's molybdenum. I don't know. Let me look it up here. I love Google. Google was made for me. Well, not just Google, but I mean a search engine, because there it is, molybdenum. It looks like molybdenum, that is pronounced molybdenum. And it's found in beans and lentils. I mean, you do find it in leafy vegetables, but the highest amount is found in the legumes. In fact, now you can even buy supplements with it in, but eating it is better for you. It doesn't tell you why, but that's the number one thing that helps get rid of or prevent esophageal cancer. And LaRue, didn't I suggest you eating beans and lentils? I thought I had like a while ago. If not, I should have. All righty. Any other questions or comments?
None.
Well, thank you so much, Joanne, for your help. I appreciate
You're welcome.
it.
She said she doesn't believe so.
Oh, I should have. As a preventative. And I apologize if I had not, because that would be a really good thing for you to do, is eat some beans and lentils. All righty. Well, thank you all. And like I said, please post in our Facebook group whenever you try these things and tell us your experiences. Because they are worth the energy.
Oh,
huh?
Sorry. I'm sorry to cut you. You're getting a lot of thank yous.
Well, and again, thank you, Joanne, so much. You're such a sweetheart. I appreciate your help. All righty. Well, you all take care and go out and sprout. Night, everybody.